all. I hope you are having a fantastic day. My name is Reggie and today I'm standing up. This is different. This is new. Today I will be sharing with you my series review for the Girl of Fire and Thorns trilogy by Rae Carson. I'm really excited to share this with you because I absolutely adored this trilogy. This review will be completely spoiler free. The Fire and Thorns trilogy consists of the Girl of Fire and Thorns, The Crown of Embers, and The Bitter Kingdom. And these books truly took my breath away and stand out amongst the YA genre as some of the most fantastic books. This series follows our main character, Alyssa, who is a bearer of a godstone, which is very interesting and obviously unique thing to this world. Basically, she has this like stone in her belly button stomach area that was put there on her naming day by God. So we have this religious story plot, and as the bearer of the godstone, Alyssa is supposed to be divinely destined to do something in her lifetime. But she doesn't really know what this is, and not many people around her know about the godstone. It's all very confusing and hard, and that's because there's only one bearer of the godstone every 100 years, and it's not like she can ask the previous bearer or their assistants for advice. They're not around anymore. So she's figuring things out all on her own, all for herself. So the story does open up on her wedding day. Alyssa is a very unique and interesting character upon the beginning of this book. She's a very diverse character. This is a very diverse story in itself. But Alyssa is a very diverse character in that she is an overweight character. So she is very self-conscious of that, talks about overeating a lot. And so if that's not something you've dealt with, you probably will think it's overdone or that she talks about it too much. And if this is something that triggers you or eating disorders trigger you, I would stay away because she does mention her relationship with food and eating a lot. Alyssa is also diverse because she is of Hispanic descent. Pretty much all of the characters in the story are of Hispanic descent, ranging from their names to their descriptions, their olive or dark complexion, their dark hair, their brown eyes. It's very cool to see the Hispanic roots and the roots that you don't see in fantasy too often pop up in this world. Huge props to Rae Carson for diversifying her story in myriad of ways. It's really appreciated, and I think she did a wonderful job with it. This story has a really good pace. I think it's very natural. I think that the first book is the slowest of the three, but I don't think it's slow by any means. I also really love Rae Carson's writing. She is a very descriptive writer, so if that's something you don't like, I would again stay away. But I personally love descriptive writing, and the way she describes things still moves the story plot forward, which I think is very unique. I read the first book as a physical copy. I own it in paperback, but then I listened to the second and third book on audiobooks, and it was such a great experience. I highly recommend picking up the audiobooks for these books. They're so good. If you don't like audiobooks, like they're not like you have to pick it up because it's the best audiobook in the world. Good, but like if you like audiobooks, that's the format to go for these books because the narrator is great. Just the Rae Carson's writing style works really well in a setting where the story is read to you because of that descriptive nature. I think it really works for the story. On top of this world being diverse, I think it is very fun and unique in its world building, but it's also kind of simple and relatable. So if you're not a fan of fantasy books or you just don't read them a lot and they're hard to get into, I think this is a really good book to pick up because I think the fantasy elements aren't as heightened as in other fantasy stories. Very simple, very easy to get into. I definitely recommend this book as a book to read if you don't necessarily love fantasy. If you love fantasy, you'll still like it, but I specifically think if you are looking to get into fantasy, this is a good easy book to pick up and jump right into the world. That being said, I still think the world building is fantastic and superb. It's just not complicated. One thing I absolutely adore about this series is the character development. Eliza has the most amazing character development. She just grows so much in each book, and in the beginning you don't necessarily have to love her. I did really enjoy her, but my best friend who recommended me read the series did not like her in the beginning at all. Turns out to be one of both of our favorite characters by the end of the series. She's just so determined and strong. And those are words you can use to describe a lot of characters, but Eliza has gone through a lot of different things that have made her stand up taller and become a much more confident person. And I just absolutely love the journey these stories have taken her on. They are often physical journeys across her world. And I think that development is very interesting in that she has physical journeys and character arcs that are like related but also not. I think that's really clever of Rae Carson. So I think we have a lot of badass female characters, we have a lot of people of color and diversity in this book, we have a great world, good plot, good pacing. We also have really cool villains. They're very interesting and complex, especially as you get farther and farther on into the story, especially in the third book. You realize how complex our villains are and how interesting this world view that Eliza has is, and how it might not quite be correct, or how it's just one side of the story, which is one of my favorite storytelling elements. So our villains are very interesting and they really heighten the world building, but they also are complex just in their own nature, and I love that. And Eliza is also a princess being married off, so there is a lot of political intrigue that is not convoluted and complicated, but is very interesting to read about, because Eliza is a person who is very smart and intelligent, and she thinks with her brain and she puzzles things out. So it's really interesting to see her step into these political spots and try to figure things out and discuss things and make things happen. I just think the political intrigue, while not overbearing, is very interesting in this book. Also, the romance in these books are just so well done in my opinion. I think the romances help Eliza grow as a character, but are also very wonderful. My favorite and biggest OTP of all time is in this series. So overall, I gave each of these books in the series a 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely adored all of them. One of my favorite trilogies of all time. If you have decided to pick it up though, I recommend that when you read the second book, you immediately have the third one ready, because there's a cliffhanger at the end of the second book, and I was dying to get to the third book. Have book 2 and 3 on the ready when you start book 2 is just my little advice for you. When I ended up reading the third book, I was texting my best friend like every time I had a reaction. She probably got like 150 text messages in the course of like the 3 days I took to listen to this audiobook. It was just, I had so many feelings and so many thoughts, and I just had to express them to her. Like I said, highly recommend. If you haven't read the series, go ahead and check it out. I think you would enjoy it most likely. And if you have, go ahead and let me know what you thought about in the comments down below. If I had to rank my favorites in the series, I would say probably Crown of Embers is my favorite, Bitter Kingdom, and then Girl of Fire and Thorns. So that is all for today's video. I will see you in the next one. Bye!